Hello, Mixer. So, got a maybe long one tonight. Don't know. We'll see here. Probably at least about 2 hour cook time today, mostly because we got to wait on our dough to rise. So we're gonna get this going here right away. I've sort of got myself half started and prepped, unlike usual. We've got half cup of sugar going here. And I'm going to melt some butter. Guessing how long that'll take. So melting butter quickly in the microwave. On top of that, we have some whole milk that is about 100 degrees. So it's not hot. I mean, I have no problem putting my hand on it. But it's not cold either at all. It's body temp. You know, it should be pretty much neutral. Because what we're doing here is basically our starter for our yeast. Get it woken up here instead of using water like you would in bread. We're going to be using milk and butter. And that might have been a little bit long, but I think we're okay. Mix that all in there. So we got active dry bread yeast. Add a little over 2 teaspoons here of yeast, or if you're using packets, it's just 1 packet. About the same amount as 1 packet. And while we let that get all happy, we'll let that sit there. That'll slowly get to the point where it's bubbling, like it should be with yeast. The bowl is maybe slightly warm to the touch. It's maybe warmer than a little bit warmer than I want, but it's not warm enough that I'm worried that I'm gonna kill the yeast. It's not over 120 degrees, I don't think, which is really what I, off the top of my head memory, maybe wrong, maybe completely wrong, but if I remember correctly, you want to keep your water somewhere between 90 and 120 for activating your yeast, and if you go over 120, you're at least risking killing them. But again, like I said, top of my horrible memory. Give this pan a quick scrub up. We're going to need you later. And while that's going, let's get some flour going for this to be dumped into. Going to be starting with, actually let's grab a second bowl and just do that now. let's sift all of our flour too. I don't know if the recipe says to do that or not off the top of my head, but it's general good rule for dealing with flour is to sift it. Might be risking running low on flour here, but I think we'll be okay. I think this is more than 5 cups and some dusting flour. There's one. I'm not going to be cooking all of these tonight. I'm actually going to be making enough here to do, I think it's about 12. But I'm only really planning to do my one cast iron with them in. I figure I can make a nice caramel, put the caramel in the bottom of the pan and let them proof in the caramel, and then bake them all together. Just make it even that much worse for you. So we got 4 cups there. And we're going to need another cup here for later on, after this has risen. After the dough has risen. Excuse me one second, I'm hearing noises outside here. I guess it's nothing. So this is for later on. Let's see. Reading over my recipe here, making sure I got everything covered here. It has been a long time since I have made these. It's been a long time since I've really worked with yeast. It's been probably a good 10-15 years since I've done much baking. And that most of that was like large industrial style baking, is I guess the best way to describe it. See, our yeast is waking up here. It's starting to bubble up a little bit. my nicely clean countertop. No. Okay, we're going to add baking powder and salt to our later addition of flour. This is going to be added in after we've gotten the yeast to do its major work. And how much baking powder do I need? 1 teaspoon. Hey Wolf, how you doing this evening? Getting yeast dough ready going, or yeast dough going here for, I'm going to be doing cinnamon rolls tonight. I've got a whole bunch of typical Mexican food goodies because I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be taking the leftover pork from on Friday and dicing a bunch of that up, mixing it up with a bunch of the sauce and doing nachos with that. Do some fresh guacamole, do some homemade queso, and do that on top of these, which these are probably going to be lasting me for a while, but and I'm not just doing cinnamon rolls, I'm also taking it that one extra step beyond just doing cinnamon rolls. I'm going to be making a caramel and then putting that in the bottom of my large cast iron, and then proofing the cinnamon rolls inside the caramel in the cast iron pan, and then baking them all together. Don't know how it's going to turn out. This is not, I mean, I'm using your recipe for the cinnamon rolls, but the whole caramel and all that is all me trying out different crap. I am doing wonderful, Wolf. I am having a lovely evening. Feeling rather stress-free for some reason. Not that I should really have stress in my life. I have a wonderful life. Oh, and also because it's me, I figure I'll slip a little bourbon in both the caramel for the bottom and in the frosting for on top. Okay, why not? What is up with the lighting? I don't know what is up with the lighting. there something wrong with the lighting? Oh, you're seeing the light beams coming through. Yeah. It's because it's the time of the day. I've got sun coming in through. Got sun coming in through my door. And unfortunately, I don't have like blockout shades or anything like that for my door, and don't really intend to invest in that. Okay, so we've had 10 minutes here to allow our yeast to waken up here. This is a combination of whole milk, melted butter, and granulated sugar. And we got 4 cups of regular AP flour there, and our baking powder. Our spatula here, make sure we get all that sugar. It didn't really combine all that well. It wasn't really hot enough, and I don't know if the milk really had enough to liquid in it to dissolve the sugar anyways. This is going to be a really sort of wet mixture at this point. Actually, it's a very wet dough from what I understand all the way through. I don't really remember it being that wet. But we'll follow the recipe at hand, so see how that works out as far as the dough here itself. We're mostly just mixing to combine here. Not really we're going to be kneading this later on. But not quite yet. Now we're going to let that sit just like that. Gonna grab a towel here out of the closet. Drape that over the top. We'll set this over here close to the stove, but not gonna start a fire close, so that it stays somewhat warm. Get a little warmth on the side of the refrigerator too here. Most refrigerators, I don't know if you guys realize, that's you're evaporating a lot of your heat on the outside walls of your refrigerator. So when it's really working to cool down, the sides of your refrigerator are going to be warm. Do a little cleanup here. We'll get into making our filling. I'm also altering the filling, but not by much. Well, actually, I don't know if I should put it in the filling. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to put it in the filling. I think I'm going to put it in the caramel. But I have some red walnuts that I've had in the freezer for a bit now, since they were in season. So I want to use those up, and so I think I'll put some red walnuts in with the caramel. Okay, our fitting. Let's see. We getting soft? Oh, okay, we're pretty soft there. Maybe we can mix these up together. So for filling, we're going to use 1.5 sticks of butter. Obviously, room temp here. That's what I was checking to make sure. I've had them sitting out here for a little while. Save the rest of that for later. Actually, I should put that in the melted butter dish because I think I'm going to be melting this. And we need light brown sugar. Let's see if I can get anything out of this little bag here. And it's just not worth my time wasting my time on it. I'll eventually get it out of there, but ¾ cup brown sugar. And ground cinnamon. That's what might have ruined my onion powder here. It's opened the container here with wet hands. Don't want your dry spices to get wet. This is a lot of cinnamon, but I'm gonna follow it. But not 1, but 2 tablespoons of cinnamon here. I mean, they are cinnamon rolls. You can smell that cinnamon now, much less after we get this mixed up. But I don't think cinnamon's just enough. Let's pumpkin spice this up a little bit. Let's add a small dash of ground clove, and let's grind a little nutmeg in there too. I'm just going to take a fork to this mixture now and mash it all up real good. Need a little salt in just about everything so you can taste it, so. Oh, I forgot to add the salt to this too. Salt's going in here. This is sort of a neat technique for separating your yeast and salt, because one thing you don't want in baking is your yeast and your salt to mix together. You don't want to put them both in the same bowl at the same time. The yeast is going to kill the salt, or the salt's going to kill the yeast. So this recipe actually has us doing our primary rise and then adding the salt, the flour and salt into the mixture after it's done the major work of the yeast. We're still going to proof these once more once we've got them in cinnamon roll form, but for the initial rise for the initial rise, it'll be without salt. This is one of those great jobs if you got a mixer. Or you could actually just do them separately on there. But this will get you a little bit of everything everywhere. I was debating adding the walnuts into this. This was my initial plan. But I realized adding the walnuts in is going to then, sort of like a pecan roll, is going to make the caramel sort of like a pecan roll too. But putting the walnuts in there would affect the roll of it itself. And so we'll do that with caramel on the bottom. So we're mixing through our brown sugar, butter, and spices, mostly cinnamon, but a little nutmeg, little clove, very little clove. I'm just trying to make sure it's all nice and mixed together. We're sort of somewhat killing time here while we let our yeast dough proof for our cinnamon rolls. I'm going to start in here soon on making the queso for the nachos, but that's sort of a I can do that ahead of time, just sort of keep it nice and warm here. We're sort of managing time here based off the cinnamon rolls here, since this recipe takes anywhere from an hour and 40 minutes to, well, hour and 40 minutes plus final bake time. So not real change up. I readjusted my main camera. Actually, I readjusted it a couple of days ago, and I sort of fixed what I'd done a couple of days ago. But otherwise the same. I've got a wonky little tripod, like a tripod that you'd use more like for like a cell phone. And it just doesn't hold position great. Even though it's a camera that I'm only really moving it to close the shutter and turn it on and off, but it still moves on me, it still drifts. One person I did want to mention to you, eWizard, is if you look up at my last stream there in the text stream, Jamuna is another cooking streamer that I found around. He does other game streaming. I noticed him playing Battlefield earlier today. But he's a chef out in, I think he's a Dutch chef, but European, different time schedule. He doesn't have a set schedule, but I caught him doing a cool carrot soup and sandwich stream the other night. He said he doesn't have a set schedule or anything, but he does have advance notice, like, in his info page. Yeah, Jamuna. Best pronunciation I can come up with. And for the other people that aren't here, eWizard was streaming his baking this morning. He does a Sunday morning baking streams. I'm pointing at my screen of the computer like I'm pointing to eWizard, but, you know, that he isn't really right there. So after I get myself some more water filtering into the fridge, I'm gonna start in on on my queso. There's another excuse to use up those roasted peppers I got in the fridge. And, you know, who doesn't like an excuse to make, you know, a bechamel-based sauce or a bechamel-style sauce? So we'll make a roux, thicken some milk with that. I've got some smoked cheddar that I'll shred and add into that sauce after that's simmered for a little bit and thickened up the milk. And we can let that chill, along with a little bit of onion and some roasted pepper in there to give it a little bit more Spanish flair or Mexican flair. Mexican flair obviously comes with jazz hands. Nice. Yeah, it didn't look like it was rising very quick, but then at the same time, it's not like it had, with all the layers rolled into it, it doesn't have much that I could, I think it would hinder it. Oops, you can't see what I'm doing. So we got butter in my medium-sized saucepan. The pound cake was looking like it was turning out well too. One of those things you could have used to, thank you for the host, could have used a frosting like I'm planning on doing tonight for the top of that bad boy. That would have been perfect, you know? With a nice gelled white frosting over the top. Did you actually make your normal weekly loaf pan? You normally do like a weekly loaf of bread, but I don't think I remember seeing you doing that today. Tablespoon and a half of butter and about a tablespoon and a half of flour. Maybe a little heavy on the flour. We'll see here in a moment. The next question is, does this cake still exist? Because people were trying to break into that before you even finished your stream. Don't want to really get any color in this, but we do want to make sure that we get it all nicely mixed together. Make sure all of those fat molecules are coating our flour. Add a bit of whole milk here. Probably better if you do this with warm milk. May shock. We're risking the shocking the milk here and thickening it a bit. This milk does come with a fat cap in it, so this is actually a bit of the fat cap that comes with the milk. If you're not familiar with fat caps, they're sort of a natural preservation technique. They throw a little fat cream on top. They fill the bottle with milk and they fill it with a little bit of fat cream so that it solidifies and helps, just makes that much more airtight, less air that the milk is getting. But since I opened this guy, it's still, oh, most of it probably came out. Oh, there's a little bit in there. But if you're eating cereal, it's cool. You get a little nugget of fatty milk. Mm. I got 2 of them. That's the baby. I think I paid a whole $6 for them. But do you have the mini tongs? So while that's coming up to a temp, take our smoked cheddar, trying a different brand today. We'll set our filling aside. We'll set our second set of flour aside. And oh, cool. It looks like I like this better already. Well, the other brand I normally buy, I like too, but it looks like this small little piece here got smoke all the way around, which is awesome because the other brand that I buy a lot from, they're making the 5-pound bricks and then cutting them down to this size, or cutting them down to, they do same weight size but different shape. Grind about half of this up. I like it actually for 2 reasons. Because it means that they can get a more consistent and lighter smoke on the cheese. But I also like it because you can do cool things with I mean, just, cutting that up for a platter, that's much cooler than your just average cheese. Thank you. No. My Ziploc bag broke. Gonna live with it for now, though. Gonna throw in a couple of the pork stock cubes. Those will thin things out a little bit there and give us some added background flavor. So I think that's probably enough cheese there. And in the cast iron pan next to it, we'll get some onion going here. Just a little bit. We need to cook this for about 20 minutes from the moment I put milk in there to cook out that flour-like flavor that you get from making a roux. Sort of the downside of using a roux instead of a cornstarch or some other starch thickener is the flour, you need to cook it a bit longer. We'll just do a large dice. This is not a large dice as far as the definition of a large dice, but compared to my normal dicing. That'll give us a little heat here for our dough. Turn our fan on low. Switch. Check OBS that it actually switched mics. Yay! Need to buy more sunflower oil. My garden's all looking great. Got it all trained. Well, the sprouts that did sprout, unfortunately the sunflowers, the corn, and the milkweed didn't really sprout for me, but everything else did. And everything else looks like it's doing well, doing healthy. I've now got most of them. Some of them are combined to a pot, but I've got them all now in 4-inch pots. Looks like it'll be good here for a early April planting. We've already got flower vendors back at the farmers markets, which is, I mean, they're normally early March, and so we're a couple weeks ahead of schedule here this year. We also, while we got a bunch of rain in the beginning of winter season. We haven't had hardly any rain this year, which is good because it's flooded the last couple of years, but isn't so great because we're in Sonoma at least somewhat dependent on our snowpack in the mountains for our water. We do have the Russian River going through the county and water wells all over the place, but our primary source of water is that water pack. Though here, where I live, the city has built solar-powered water wells for the entire city, and filters it all themselves and all that good stuff. So we're starting to get a nice temp going here. We've got just a few whiffs of smoke. Yeah, you add a touch of water to that too. About like a quarter cup of water. Salt our onions lightly and add some salt to our bechamel here. The French would be screaming at me for putting black pepper and bechamel instead of white pepper. They might also be screaming at me for putting MSG in it. Take the green onion. Jarred peppers. Get a minute here, I'll show you a video that David Chang did. I don't know, maybe you watched the Netflix series of Ugly Delicious, but he posted a clip from Ugly Delicious on Facebook where they get a bunch of people to come into a classroom or I don't know if it's a classroom, but sort of a classroom-like area, and all say, you know, MSG gives us headaches, it makes us sick, I can't stand it. And then they have snack time, and he feeds them all Pringles and Doritos and a variety of other snack foods, and they're all scarfing them all down without realizing, yeah, all those got MSG in them too. Manufacturer is just smart enough to change the name. Throw a little green onion in there with our onions. And cut the heat on these guys. Just let them coast the rest of the way in that warm pan. Keeping our cheese somewhat separate from all of our other goodness. Yeah. Shaking my head at myself there, trying to put my Rubbermaid lid on top of the roasted pepper jar. These are like perfect for like TV cutting because like they cut so nicely visually. Right here, give you more of an example here. Nice, glossy, clean slices. Don't move. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if products such as this is substituted for tomatoes on TV before. No, Ron Popeil wouldn't do such a thing as that. Actually, I have no idea, but I'm certain one of these infomercials use all sorts of tricks like that. And pictures. I was studying, I think it was a Carl's Jr. ad the other day. Just this, I mean, the burger look that they were advertising looked amazing until you sat there and studied it, and it was like a work of art for, so that people wouldn't notice it in the 6 seconds you're looking at it. And turn that heat on just for a little bit because that's enough pepper that's going to kill the heat here. I do want them to be a little bit warm. Add a bit more water to this, just to keep it nice and loose here. And so far we just got salt and pepper in there. Gonna add a little bit of garlic powder as well. Maybe a quarter-half teaspoon there. Cut the heat on that again. Let's see, is there anything else? Oh yes, I want to throw in some powdered cheese into this as well, just to round out the other flavors of cheese. I've got this. You can buy dehydrated cheese pretty well. You can find it at most spice shops if you can't find it in your supermarket. And this is a combination of Romano and cheddar that's been dehydrated with a little bit of spice and some salt. So we'll add a nice little dash of that in there. Sort of like cheese MSG. I mean, it's all umami. Oh, cheese first. What am I doing? Gotta add that cheese first. All that lovely smoked cheddar. Give us that natto color. Our dough's just about ready to move forward with kneading too, so this is working out pretty good here. Time-wise. Add all of our smoked cheddar into our sauce. They're just gonna bind it all up. This is gonna make it a gooey mess at this point. Giving this nice gold color now though. We'll stop stirring it there. We're gonna cut the heat on this. And add in all of these goodies. Actually, we'll get rid of our whisk at this point too. Bye bye, tiny whisk. Add in our fire roasted pepper, our green onion, and sauteed or slightly colored onions. And this will destroy supermarket queso any day of the week. Twice on Sunday. Okay, let's clean up our act a little bit here, and then we'll get back to doing our dough. We need our onion out still. We're going to use the butter still. Need these out. Good with these. Man, I was talking last week how I cough a little bit here and there, and it happened to me like a week and a half ago that I coughed in the supermarket, and I had stares. I had the teenager pointing to mom like, "Ooh, that guy's got a cough. That guy's gonna be sick." But it happened to me again today in the store, and it's like, okay, yeah, there's some rumors of people in the county next to us. I'm not sick. Just hypochondriacs. I understand it's a serious issue, an epidemic, a possible pandemic. But it's not here right now, at least it's not showing itself here yet. Just Italy, Iran, South Korea, China. If you want to keep those whisks and those strainers clean, you got to clean them first thing. You can't let it dry out. And if you let it dry out, your best chance to actually get it clean is to let it really dry out. So we got our queso dip here. Gonna add a little bit more liquid water to this. There we go. So let's look at how our dough is doing. I gotta clean my cutting board here. I'm now thinking I probably didn't let you guys see what I was doing with those onions in that pan at all. Let me see, do I still have that zoomed in? If I go back to Stoveboard main. Yeah, oh well, sorry. I forgot I had that zoomed in so you could see the first burner real well. Okay, let's look at our bread here. And that has risen quite a bit there. That's at least 1.5 times, if not twice as big as it was before there. So we got, this was 4 cups of flour along with our milk, butter, yeast, and sugar. And we've got another cup of flour and our salt. I thought this was a really cute method of separating our yeast and salt. I was talking about it earlier. By allowing it to proof beforehand, and now we're adding our salt in. And so this is still going to be a sticky mess here. We're going to sort of beat this down, get this working together, and we're going to start kneading. This is going to start about 10 minutes of kneading here to make sure we got everything all mixed together and we develop that gluten nice. And start in the bowl here until we get most of this flour incorporated. This is feeling and looking pretty good. Though from the recipe it's looking a bit drier, so I am worried about that, but switch back to the front mic so you can actually hear what I'm saying. I have that problem. I'm much better. I forget still to switch camera views and stuff. Loud bang. I forget to mix camera views, or like I said earlier, I forgot to zoom out on the stove there. But what I really has been irritating me, pet peeving me, is I keep forgetting to switch my mics. And so I know I'm much quieter talking to you here in this configuration when I have the other mic that's over there on than right now. And it's starting to feel a little bit wet now, which they're saying, you're going to need they were saying you need a little bit of bench flour, but they're trying to convince people not to use a lot. And it is starting to stick a little bit to the board where it's not moving as much. No, it's like I was saying, I keep forgetting to swap my mic. That's my window mic, which is much better for when I'm talking and cooking on the stove. It's much better for catching searing and all that. But this is my front mic, which is much better for right now. Not quite sticking to the board or my hand yet, though it's getting close here. So, gonna have to add some flour here. I mean, we're only basically 2 minutes into our kneading here, but not quite ready to do that just yet. Does knead pretty easily. It's not, I mean, I'm leaning into it, which makes it easier, but it's not very forceful dough. I've worked with much more less obedient doughs, especially pasta doughs. We're only 4 minutes in here. I'm going to be pretty tired at the end of this. Another reason streaming is good for you. It's a workout. Starting to get nice and elastic now, starting to look the way that you're short of wanting it to go. It's still not quite there, but we're starting to get there. And actually, I lied. I may not be adding more flour because it's not sticking that much. And we're starting to get to the point where it's almost got that yeast skin going on. Or lack of a better way of describing it. You get that sort of, when we get there I'll show it to you, but sort of want that bouncy, smooth dough, and this is slowly getting smoother. It's not tearing as much as I force it through. Well, it's been a good 10-15 years since I've done baking, but like I said, I used to work as a baker, or I have worked as a baker, and doing kneading bread rolls, cutting cheesecake, making bread pudding with cake. And did that there too. So it's not something that's entirely foreign to me. It's just something that I haven't done or really practiced in many, many years. Still going to go a little bit longer with this. We're getting close to, I don't know if we're quite there yet or got a minute left somewhere in there, but I still want to do this a little bit longer. Yeah, I'm not seeing any drop frames. I'm seeing 100 frames per 117 frames and 6,200 kilobytes, or round a bit. Now we're starting to get there, where it's starting to feel almost a little bit more like modeling clay than you're molding cottage cheese. It's sort of an odd way to describe it, but if you notice, you see how it's sort of, this is much more how it is when you first get started. You notice how nice and smooth we got that side. Push it, it comes back. So I'm going to let that rest for a minute or two here. Let myself rest for a minute or two here. Have a sip of water. Make sure we're not releasing too much water here out of our onions and peppers, which we obviously aren't, since this is almost solidified while I've been kneading that. Gonna need a bit more moisture. Getting hot. I want to move my cutting board and do this on the... Get out of here, fruit fly. I didn't know I had fruit flies in here. I think I'm going to get rid of the cutting board here. I mean, it's serious. It's like a piece of clay right now. It's really sort of odd how it transitions from this like soupy mass of flour and moisture, and slowly turns into a nice, smooth, supple ball. Just cleaned this before I started streaming, but already looks dirty again. And okay. Now we're ready to move on with our dough. So we're just going to stretch it out now. I'm just going to start get a rolling pin out here. One thing I do want to make sure I do here is try and keep it nice and square-like. Do want to try and make nice corners so that when I roll this, it rolls nicely. And we do want to try and keep it as even as possible here so that our layers are nice and even. Don't roll off the table, please. Okay. So now we can take our filling and if you weren't here earlier for this is a combination of butter, sugar, and spices. We got primarily cinnamon, but I decided to throw in, make it a little bit more pumpkin pie spiced. There's a very, very, very small dash of clove in there and a fair amount of nutmeg. And so we'll just spread this all over. Do want to take our time and try and make a nice even coat, because like making the dough somewhat even, we want cinnamon sugar evenly all over everything. Be pricey, but awesome upgrade to this might be substituting almond paste for maybe going light on the cinnamon, doing more of an almond cinnamon roll or something like that. Might be interesting. Instead of using a bunch of granulated sugar. That'd be really pricey though, considering almond paste is not cheap. It is yummy though. The real stuff at least. Well, the fake stuff's all sugar too, so it's yummy too, but not in that same bitter Italian almond way. Uh-oh. What we got here? Chunk of brown sugar that didn't want to mix. You notice I'm sort of trying to take the high spots here and work it into this last corner here that I don't have great coverage on just yet. I think we're just about there. Reboot your router. You got people hacking you already? Wow, that looks incredibly gray on my screen. And not brown at all. So we'll going to try and carefuling here. Make sure we have a nice tight roll. Just want to keep it nice and straight. Use the weight of the roll to help seal it up there. Cinnamon sugar. Okay, caramel time. So we're gonna do some butter and milk as a sort of substitute for cream here. So we're gonna melt that guy and add some milk here to the party. That, like I said before, is the fat cap from the milk. So, actually I need more milk than that. We're not really trying, we're just trying to warm that up so it's not too hot. Add our butter to our caramel pan that we're going to use here. Grab our bag of sugar. We're just going to let this guy rest until we're ready to proof him. We got our butter melting back here. Once we get this up to decent temp, I'll add in our sugar. Just a little bit of sugar in this dish. I mean, we're making caramel, so. Doing 3/4 cup of sugar here with about 6 tablespoons of butter. If you have premium salted butter available to you, you know, premium French style salted butter, this is the place for it. But I'm using unsalted American butter, so we're going to add a bit of salt here. We're going to bring this up to a nice caramel brown color, and then we're going to mix in the cream to stop the cooking basically and lock it in and make ourselves a beautiful caramel. We'll use this caramel in the bottom of our pan with a couple of these bad boys in there. I'm very happy with the way this dough turned out. Rolled very nicely, it kneaded very nicely, and it came together as a nice dough after kneading it for the time they said in the recipe. So So big news in the food world. You're no longer going to be able to eat at Costco without a membership. I don't know when the last time I've been in a Costco's. It's been years. Oh, actually it might have been less than years because I probably went with my folks. That fits back there. So let's make our frosting. No, I mean they're like actual like it used to be. They used to lot you into. Apparently, this is a news article. I don't know from experience. Um, they were allowing non-members to come in and use the cafe area where they sell the incredibly cheap hot dogs and slices of pizza and cheap cans of Coke and whatever else they have there. But now they're not going to allow people in there anymore, which I think is more of a sign of the times with the restaurants. 2000s was all about putting restaurants and anything you could do for value adding. You know, like we're going to add I was living in LA in the early 2000s, late 2000s, mid 2000s, and they put in a brand new Whole Foods right next to LAX. It was the largest Whole Foods at the time. They had 5 restaurants in it. It's a supermarket. Well, I had a membership to Costco a couple of years ago, and I got tired of being treated like cattle. And so I decided to cancel my membership. And, but my folks who still have a membership, I believe, would buy me gift cards because you could go in and use a Costco gift card without having a membership. And they started requiring me to show driver's license and proof of ID and stuff like that to do that. And I was like, no thanks. And normally a business can ask you for your ID. I mean, bars and them where you have to verify your age, that's one thing. But when it comes to a sale, they're legally not allowed to ask you for your ID. It's actually in the membership contracts for Visa and MasterCard and is on their main webpage. Easy, bright as day for someone to look up. So it's considered a breach of privacy for them to require an ID for sale. And the only reason that Costco gets away with it is they're a private business. They're a club. They're not a public business. They're a private club. And so that's sort of a pet peeve of mine, obviously. I don't like bringing my ID out in public anymore. I don't like showing it to people anymore. Not even so much, I don't even really mind showing it to the lady at the cash register, or person at the cash register. Sorry for me being sexist there. My problem is now we got cameras everywhere. And so I show it to the cash register, the cashier, and it's on the camera there, and it's probably being shared to some private security company somewhere, and yada, yada, yada. My identity's stolen, you know? It's just one more way that I'm trying to prevent using my card. I've switched to using my cell phone instead of using credit cards because the whether you're using Apple or Google or I forget who all has payment apps. PayPal probably has one that you can use through a credit card machine. They don't show your card number, and actually they transact with a different card number from your number altogether. And so the store never even gets your actual card number these days if you're using your phone. But before, like I was saying, the major thing is I'm not pulling that card out and that name, expiration date, and number is not out for seeing on every video camera in the place. So we got ourselves a nice golden color here on our caramel now. Make sure our cream is up to temp here, which it doesn't really look it yet. up the heat on our caramel and stir in maybe should have used a bigger whisk for this, but add a little vanilla at this point. Which you can see there, even with the heat off, that sugar retains so much heat that it still boils the vanilla right off the bat. I'm trying to get it to work. We do have a little bit stuck on the bottom here in the back and the corners. I'm trying to coax that out to loosen up a little bit. Otherwise, it looks like we got a pretty smooth caramel here. Ooh, that could have been really dangerous if that was a little bit hotter, because sugar, I lucked out there. Use a larger whisk if you're doing this. Actually, probably shouldn't even use a whisk. Probably use a spatula. So we got a little bit of sticky going on here. We're trying to move that all, dissolve all that in our liquid here before it cools down and starts to seize itself. Take that off the heat because I still have the heat on over there. Really want to get some cleaning done here, but I need to get these cinnamon rolls proofing. So I think we're going to go with this as it is right here. Pull out my large cast iron. We'll wait on doing the icing. I'm not there yet. We'll take our caramel liquid. Pour that loveliness in the bottom of our pan here. And then these, there's different techniques you can use to cut these. I'm going to see if I can't use a little butcher's twine. But the recipe I'm following actually recommended unflavored dental floss, which I'm sure works great too. It sort of gives you a nice cleaner cut, rounder cut than if you're using a knife. You're going to cut it down with a knife, it's going to squash it down. not as clean as probably tooth as. I would think floss probably cut this a little bit cleaner. As you can see, it is leaving some of the dough on the. So if you got that kicking around, I didn't have any and I didn't feel like buying it just special for this. And thankfully, Butcher's Twine seems to be working out just as well. Don't want to pack them in there too tight. Actually, I want to give them a little bit more room than I've gotten them already. Want to give them room to grow here. And I think I'm cutting a bit thicker than the recipe calls for. I'm sort of trying to put the outside to the outside of the pan here so that it doesn't really have anywhere to go. I already tried to set it somewhat on the seam when it was setting here. But I'm obviously going to have a couple of rolls extra here. Actually, I was sort of thinking I was going to have about half of this left over, and I'm going to have more like a quarter. All right. So we'll let those, this is the last little bit left over of our roll there. And so those guys are going to sit here and proof. We're going to let those sit here for another 30-40 minutes while I go back to doing other things here for our nachos. Do need to get our oven roast going here. Let's see here. 350 degrees. That was easy. This guy, I think I'm actually going to roll in plastic wrap and can freeze him just like that. He'll be perfectly fine. Could maybe get 4 good guys out of that if I stretch it and maybe put it in my small cast iron pan next time around. This is also another technique you can use here. People, kitchens use all the time and don't really mention too often, especially commercial kitchens, is we now got that wrapped in a nice piece of plastic wrap. So if we were doing this ahead of time, I wasn't going to immediately do this. You can sit here and use the plastic wrap to make sure you have a nice, perfect round. And you can spin it and twist the ends and do so even more. Now I'm going to freeze that just like that. Well, after I label and date it. Yeah, it's February 23rd. I wrote it earlier. Yeah, there we go. 23rd. There we go. And into the freezer you go. Top the corn so you make a nice, so you don't flatten. Got a little cinnamon and sugar here on our counter. We'll set these guys off to the side here a little bit. A little worried I might have overdone it with the caramel there. Might have too much caramel. Okay, next, do I do the frosting? I think we're going to do... Oh, I need more butter to frost it for the frosting, don't I? So we're letting more butter warm up. Thought I had measured out all the butter and everything I had. Did I use it for the... Must have used it for the caramel. Yeah. Oh, it's only 2 tablespoons. And it's melted. So we'll bring our cutting board back here. Get rid of our twine from cutting our dough. 2 tablespoons. Oh, I need to do dishes here. I'm going to do some dishes here. Uh-oh. You went and cursed me, you wizard. Casing's coming off of my nice whisk now. I know you're not there to see this, but... Calling you out in absence. I gotta buy a new $6 whisk. Boo-hoo. I like the little cutesy whisk, too. We'll keep it around for right now, but that isn't very food worthy anymore. I don't want to get pieces of plastic in my food, or it's probably silicone, but it's probably food safe, whatever it is, but I would hope it's food safe, whatever it is. pretty excited for more F1. I'm so ready for racing to be back. So ready. Make sure I'm not missing chat here. I don't have it open up to see. Don't think any. Think we just got some people lurking around right now. Not really. Not that I ain't trying to get stuff done here, but messy kitchen, messy mind. Dirty station, dirty mind. And smell the cinnamon, even though the oven is not in the oven yet. I'm going to turn that fan up high. I'm getting a little bit of smoke coming off of our oven here. Probably remnants of our butter in our chicken on Wednesday. Bitch, that soup turned out great. I had a little... It wasn't fully cooked by the time I took photos and showed everyone on stream. But given that just a little bit more time, next day when I reheated it, that soup was great. You get those chickpeas cooked right, and it's just a wonderful soup. Sorry for the pop there. This bowl likes to flex and pop back into place. So our oven's up to temp. Let's make our frosting that I keep threatening to do. Two tablespoons of butter there. Gonna give that a melt up in the microwave. How much powdered sugar we need. 1 cup of powdered sugar. I'll use one of these guys since they're out already. It's already looking pretty dry. But let's do this way. Don't have to be too exact here because we're going to be using milk and butter here to moisten it, but I want to be approximately a cup of sugar here. There we go. Switch to the metal whisk since my pretty small whisk ain't gonna work anymore. Add our butter. Add our whiskey, our bourbon. Going with the cheap good stuff. And why not? I was debating margaritas again. I still have the tequila and good stuff to do that. But yesterday was National Margarita Day. So we got our butter, our bourbon, and powdered sugar. Add a little salt. Let's see if we need any milk here. The original recipe doesn't have the bourbon in it, so we're adding more moisture here. I think I'm actually going to add a bit more sugar and a bit of milk. Best of both worlds. Because I do want to have a little dairy in this for flavor, if nothing else. So. That's acting a little bit more like frosting, I remember. Okay. Set that aside. Let's see, how long do these guys need to cook? "25 to 30 minutes. Getting close here on our proof. These are starting to look quite larger than they did before. I mean, they weren't touching when I put them in there. Let's see. I think we'll make our guacamole, cut up our onion and tomato here. Get our stuff ready for our nachos. I bought these guys specifically for dinner tonight. We got some of the finest Romas from Mexico available. Gonna put some with the guacamole, some with the avocado, and some will... Oh, I don't have any citrus. Should have bought... Do I have some citrus? Don't think I have any. No. Guess we're relying on tomato acid here. You can add a little vinegar. Problem with these guys, the skin is so tough, the flesh is so soft and weak. No, very well chopped tomato there. Oh well. Like no juice at all of these things. I mean, it's glistening up the board, but this ain't tomato juice. This is like tomato paste. Fresh tomato paste. No cooking necessary. We'll use our butter dish here and throw about half of these guys in there. We'll use the ones in here for garnish. These will go in with our avocado. Some nice ripe US grown avocados. Much better looking than my last batch of avocados featured on stream. The last ones I did were from a small farm that were not quite ripe when I was cutting them, and were actually considerably smaller. Yeah, I don't care about a little powdered sugar with my guacamole. As everyone else, it's like, what? Didn't quite cleanly cut that one. Didn't cut it very well in half. We'll make it work though. We always do. Even if we have to substitute pasta. This spoon ain't doing the job for mashing these up very well. So, switch back to our fork. This fork works great for mashing stuff. It's just got just the right angle. I have no idea where I got this fork. I've had it for years. It's the only one I've got like this. So it probably came home in a pocket from a restaurant or something. Saw an article in the news the other day. A lady had obviously in her older years had paid upwards of, I think it was over $100 to ship a beer stein that she had stolen from a place when she was a teenager, when she was 18. Had been missing for decades, and bar went and sent her back a brand new one. Alright. That's nicely mashed up a little bit. You want to have a little bit of chunkiness with that avocado. You don't want it to be pure mush. And actually, I don't know if I want to add all of this tomato. That's about all the tomato I need to add to this. So we'll save the rest. Add a touch of apple cider vinegar. Bit of salt. Black pepper. I think it's time to put these guys in the oven. They've risen considerably. They're looking nice and yummy. In the oven you guys go. Let's say 40 minutes. Oh, 25, 30. Okay. So, 25 minutes. Add a bit of garlic powder as well. Yeah, we can do a little more garlic powder than that. Garlic and avocado go well together. And since we're using vinegar, just a punch of cayenne there to go with that. Less for heat, more to brighten. Because cayenne has that sort of like, has the ability to bring out that same sort of like flavoring that lemon does. In small amounts. We'll take ourselves and clean up the serrano here. And I got it for on top too, so why don't we add a little green onion in with both on top of that guy. And for garnish, throw the whites in with this. Let's reheat our leftover pork from on Friday. Just gonna go straight to the microwave with that guy, and we'll give him a minute at low power, just to loosen up all the liquid that's in. There's a bunch of barbecue sauce and there's a bunch of pan sauce in with the pork, so loosen all that good stuff up, and then we'll flash it a bit more here to bring it fully up to temp. So I'm actually sort of thinking that for nachos. I think that's a good dish for using for nachos, a pie pan. Actually, that's one of the things, if I ever did merch, I wouldn't be doing like shirts and shiz like that. What I actually would love to do is embossed pie tins and other useful things, useful small gadgets that you can use around the kitchen. Not so much t-shirts for people to wear around town. Yeah, it needs a little bit more time. Got some of that pepper still on my finger there, so when I licked the Carolina barbecue sauce, it was a little bit spicier that time. A little bit of serrano juice on my finger. So let's warm the cheese sauce back up here. We'll add a little bit of water in here. And turn the flame back on low. Cheese sauce, queso, whatever you want to call it. We got roasted peppers, we got onions, we got green onion, smoked cheddar, all that good stuff. See how we're looking here. Cut off a beautiful hunk of this beautiful pork. And just look at that. That's just gorgeous. Cutting against the grain here, so we got Not that this pork wasn't already hugely tender. We got tender sliced tender pork. There we go. There. What I'm doing right now is incredibly dulling to a knife. You should not do this. You don't want to run your knife against the cutting board. You want to. What I usually do, and what you'll usually see me do, is I'll put my knife against the board, and then I'll move stuff up to it. Got to be careful, obviously, with your hand moving towards the knife that way. And probably not a great thing to tell the general public to do, but it's better than rubbing your knife against the board and causing it to lose its edge. Well, it's better to do as long as you don't cut yourself. Using the raw meat board there, even though the meat is very much cooked. That was more of me not wanting to get my main board covered with barbecue sauce just before I was done here. Pour some of that fat and barbecue sauce over the top. And we'll throw you back in the microwave. Oh, wow. The rolls are looking good. I'll leave this to dry for later. Okay. So I'm just about ready here for everything, I think. Mostly waiting on our rolls to finish up here. We got another 5-10 minutes at least on them. I'm going to leave them in there for that full time, hopefully. We'll see. Hopefully they aren't getting too dark. They're not getting any color on them now, but I'm worried they're going to get dark quick. I'm going to turn the oven down actually a little bit because I think it's running a little hot. you have those flavors and things in your life, that you just immediately take a sip of, and you just sort of decompress. You just sort of like, ah, that's what this is. Take a nice little sip and let it roll down your throat. It's just so warm and yummy, and just want to crawl up into bed. See what's happening in the world here. We got about 5 minutes here. I'm chilling, relaxed. Rolls are looking beautiful, if maybe picking up a little bit of color. Our nachos are looking ready. Just about get ready those, but I'm waiting on the nachos because I'm waiting on the rolls, basically. The rolls need to come out, they need to be out of the oven, and we're going to let them sit here and rest and relax for 10 minutes. And we can make and heat up our nachos where we're letting those wait for those 10 minutes, but we got to let them wait before we can put some frosting on top of them lovely things. Sort of an odd mix of barbecue and sweet in the kitchen right now. Lots of cinnamon, but we got this right in front of my face. And set these off to the side here. We're going to put our cinnamon rolls up off the corner here once we're done to let them cool. Going to be using scoops as far as my tortilla chip of choice. Sort of trying to prevent that whole layering issue you get with flat chips, where you get the one chip with everything on it and then a bunch of empty chips underneath it. I'm sort of figuring if you get scoops, which are not going to be a very uniform surface. I haven't tried doing this before, but sort of the idea is there's going to be a uniform surface, so there isn't going to be a uniform layer as we build things up here, because I do intend to throw a bunch of chips in there, our meat, some of the veggies, and some plain cheese. Toss that in the oven, and then we'll come back and we'll do a second layer. Cheese sauce is yummy. needs a bit more sauce, salt. Cheese sauce needs a bit more sauce, a bit more salt. Like I said, you can't compare that to the jarred crap that's in supermarkets. That's so much. That's light years better than that crap. Those little jars of fake cheese in the supermarket don't even taste like cheese. They're like yellow napalm. Let's take a look. We got some smoke going here. Yeah, I think it's time to pull these guys out. But those filled out that pan rather nicely, didn't they? Now we're really going to have smoke going here because we got sugar going on the bottom of the oven. So, fan on high. Wow, we got lots of smoke in here now. I may set off my smoke alarm even with the door closed. It's not a cooking stream, it's a smoking stream. Yeah, I pulled these guys out maybe 5 minutes early. We'll see how if they don't see how much they deflate here. They look like they're pretty much maybe a little jiggly, but we'll see. But we were having issues with the caramel starting to drip off the sides and hit the bottom of the oven. So, but we need to let these chill before we can add our bourbon frosting here. So we'll make some nachos while we're waiting. I have to get rid of my cute little whiskey wizard because I just noticed this when I was washing it now. It's done for. Oh, they've already sunk a little bit, especially this guy in the center here. But they're looking good otherwise. Yeah, it's inevitable with these coated ones. They eventually go. But you need the coated ones, because if you don't have the coated ones, you get what we used to always call it the CIA Gray-A's. Because if you whisk anything heavily in a metal bowl with a metal whisk, you're still going to pull up metal off of there. And so if you actually like make mayonnaise with a metal bowl and metal whisk, it will turn gray. So we'll add some of our warmed up leftover pork here. Not quite all of it though, most of it though. Most of it in this first layer. Check what microphone I'm using right now. Okay, using the good microphone, the right microphone. So we got that. We'll add a little bit of homemade queso cheese. Turn the heat off on the cheese. Because we can't live with just cheese sauce. Some of these Mexican Roma tomatoes, more like paste than tomatoes here this time of year. We'll throw this in the oven. Give this a little bit of a smoke. Yeah, that's back in the maybe 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s. That was maybe more of a better plan. It was probably more of a time saver back then. Now they're just full of so much other stuff that just cook with the real ingredients. There's one. I mean, regardless of all the other facts that they say when it comes to food and health, and I know I'm not exactly a shining example of proper eating, but if there is one thing to take away from all of the studies they've done on health and eating, it's the more hands that touch food before it gets to your mouth, the more likely it is going to make you sick. So, the more people you have refining down 50 different little powders in order to mix it into that flour that's been stripped of all of its nutritional value, just cook with real flour. Yeah, well, I mean, it's like I had to explain earlier on stream, or I felt the need to explain what a fat cap is on milk. Because I buy milk that's in glass jugs, and they use the old school method of Strauss being, I mean, the leader as far as environmentally dairies. I would think Strauss is probably the leader in the U.S. But they put a fat cap on there. They squirt a little heavy cream on top of their regular milk, so it solidifies in a little fat disc and keeps the milk from being exposed to air. But that's something that, if you go and buy a regular carton of milk, you wouldn't grab that, your typical cardboard carton, and you got a chunk of fat in that, you'd send it back because you think it's spoiled. I actually wonder how many people send back Strauss milk because they think it's spoiled because there's a fat cap on it. That's actually something funny to think about. I bet you they get quite a few of them returned for that. Of course, that's another thing. I mean, it's more of an environmental thing than it is a product, but we're using glass jugs here. Person who's just going into the store and buying milk, they look at the prices. This is going to be this same amount of milk, and its main competitor in cardboard are really identically priced. They're really competitively priced. But if you look at the price on the shelf there, that one's going to be $2 more because there's a $2 refund. I put some preservatives and stuff. I don't. They're usually things that most people don't think of as preservatives, but. Okay, we got melted cheese, warm pork, yeah, salts are pretty innocuous. I think most salts they're finding are, I mean, it's sort of like MSG. MSG is a salt. It's just different type of salt. But I get what you're saying. I mean, there's salts that you definitely don't want in your body. Tomatoes looking like Taco Bell with all the tops. I think Taco Bell buys the tops and ends of tomatoes from someone else. Like there's some company out there that's dicing tomatoes out there and they're selling the tops and bottoms to Taco Bell. Okay, back in the oven. Is that pourable? Yeah. Thank you for the follow, Rhino Line. Welcome to my kitchen. Thank you for the host as well. So those are looking pretty. Let's see how our... Oh, I'm making a mess here too. Waste not, want not. It is going lovely. I am just finishing up here the cinnamon rolls, which it's not very visible yet, but there's a layer of caramel on the bottom of those on top of the frosting I just put on top. And we got our nachos going here with leftover Carolina style barbecue pork from Friday, and finish those off with a bunch of green onion. And some guacamole from earlier. Sorry I didn't splurge for sour cream tonight. Or cilantro for that matter. So we got that loveliness chilling there. Let's take a photo of these guys. Thank you for the retweet, Sea Wizard. So we got that, and we're going to take these cinnamon rolls and actually take them even to the next level. Good stuff. So if I die of a heart attack tonight, guys, you know what happened. Then I'm sure all that tastes horrible. That I will have. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining me this evening. Thank you for stopping by Rhino Lion. If you guys haven't caught Rhino Lion before, he does pottery here. I hosted him on Friday. We got E-Wizard, who was hosting this streaming this morning doing bacon. He's here every Sunday, and not here like I said before. He's in my computer, but and give one more shout out to Jamuna, who is also a new cooking streamer, but out on that EU coast, and so he's working on a different time schedule than all of us. So if you catch him, he's a good guy to check out. Let's see if there's anyone out there in the food and drink category land, and see if I can't host someone this evening. Otherwise, I'm going to be calling it there. Hope you all have a lovely evening. Oh, we do have someone else here, so I will be hosting up someone here in a couple of minutes. Thank you guys for joining me. I hope you all have a lovely evening. Well, unfortunately, Mrs. Tags, who is also doing some cooking this evening, doesn't allow live hosting, so I'm gonna go stop over there for a couple of minutes, and maybe you guys can check her out too. I have no idea what she's up to, but she's in the food and drinking section, so give her a hello. Check her out. Have a good night, everyone.